Hey guys, welcome back. So it is go time for the Zygopetalum Murasake Komachi. I never say it right. Y'all already know I'm horrible with names. So I've had this lovely orchid since 2019. Several repots. The last time it was repotted was in January of 2022. Which technically it does not need a repot because the media is going over. So it is in cocoa husk chips. And I did a ppm reading. I let it soak for about 20 minutes to kind of soften everything up because the roots are very sensitive. And the ppm is only 97. So it's under 100, so there's not a lot of buildup. And I did just fertilize this a couple of days ago, so that could be from the fertilizer. And the way that I care for her is I only fertilize her once a month. And she does have some slow release pebbles in there, I think. I can't remember if I put them in there or not. But if anything, there's just a few, and they're probably already expired. There are two pieces because the last time I repotted her, she ended up being two pieces, and each side, let me drain it off, just there we go. Each side, whoops, let me move that out of the way, get water everywhere. But each side has its own growth. So there's this one, and then this one is kind of growing in the middle. So I could technically leave it. I'm just afraid it's going to grow too far out of the media. And then this one I'm afraid is going to grow over the pot. So I don't want to damage any roots it might grow. So I want to go ahead and get in here and see what's going on. So I'm going to squeeze the pot to loosen any roots that might be stuck. We do have a few stuck up underneath here. And once again, let me grab my clippers. Be right back. So these have been sanitized from the last time I used them. So don't worry about that. Now how to get her out. And I'm probably going to take some of the back bulbs out because I am going to pull on the back bulbs to get her out. And I'm going to put her in two separate pots. If this happens again, I don't have to do it again. I don't know, that's kind of my thought process. So I have two different size pots. These are the clear pots from the Orchid Supply Store. Again, 12% discount. If you go to Orchid Supply and buy anything, coupon code TRISH at checkout. These don't have the air cone in them, but they do have nice wide drainage holes. And since Zygopetalum and Zygopetalum like to stay damp a little bit longer, no holes means less watering for me. Now, and I do have gloves on to keep the oils of my hand from getting onto the roots because legend has it that these guys are picky and finicky with their roots. I don't know that for a fact. This cocoa husk is, it's giving, but it's not that bad. It's not soggy, let's put it that way. So I'm going to clean these roots off. And then once I get them all nice and cleaned and we get close to separating the plants, I will be back because I'm pretty sure this is going to take a while. Be right back. I forgot to mention that each growth is growing new root tips so that if something happens to the roots that are inside this pot, then I do have that backup coming. And as you can see, there are some lovely root tips in the pot, and the roots that are in here look rather healthy. Again, I'm just very meticulously, very gently getting this cocoa husk off. And I'm not going to be too insistent on getting all of it off. I just want to get enough off so that it's loose enough for these two plants to separate themselves. Let me know in the comments below your experience with Zygopetalum or Zygopetalum if you grow them. Do you find their roots are finicky? Because so far I haven't found that they're hesitant in growing their roots for me, and I generally don't lose the entire root system, but I do hear a bit of crackling because these roots are very thick, but they're not forgiving like Phalaenopsis. There's that new growth right there. They're not as forgiving as Phalaenopsis, so I wonder if I should go get my tweezers to pick this out so that I'm not using my fat fingers and damaging the roots. That might also help in the process. And there was a little bit of moss I see on top initially, because when I put her in this setup, she didn't have any roots, and that was my fault. Did not care for her properly, and so that's where a new repot was required. And yes, I do see some slow release fertilizer in here, so I did add that in. Now, I don't know if I added it in during the repot or if I added it in, where's the other, there it is, or if I added it in after the fact. So I do know, well, those two back bulbs just came right off. So now I need to be extra careful with this piece because all it has is the new growth. Let me see. If I could just separate the roots so that I can see which is what, that would be helpful. But these roots are very, very entangled in here. Look at this. Like, I'm making some progress, but I feel like we may have some root damage. And I know I've said it in the past, but I would also like to just say thank you to Mr. Michael McCarthy again for giving us all the guidance on Zygopetalum zygonesia, because that is kind of how I got to this right here. And the blooms, oh my God, the blooms on this thing are amazing, just amazing. Okay, well, that root just got damaged. Okay, so I need to put a little more focus into what I'm doing, guys. I will fast forward until I find something else, and then we'll talk about that, because not really paying attention, that had grown into the cocoa fiber, and I took it off and just ripped that brand new root. Eeks. All right. If I can just, like I said, if I can get half of it separated. So we'll see what we've got, and then we'll go from there. Fast forwarding will commence. Okay, I'm going to do something, and some of you might not like it, so turn away. I am going to cut the bottom portion of this root ball because they are just too compacted in there, and I cannot get them separated. I will let you know when I'm done abusing the roots, because this one does have a bit of a branching root system. All right, that makes it a whole lot easier. And then, like I said, I have those new roots coming, so we're just going to grin and bear it. Let's see, where's that one go to? In this mess back here. Careful. Thought that would help. Okay, yep, there it goes. There it goes. All right, and I'm gonna hold that one back here. Hold that one there so I don't. Okay, so this root, I don't know if you can see it, but this root right here has grown up and in between those two growths. So I do have this old bulb that I can just take off of there, and then hopefully we can release this one side. I don't know if I have the hand strength to do it, but it's twisted off there. And then that's off of an old bulb. There's an old bulb. May not end up with much of a plant by the time I'm done here. All right, now let's see if I can loosen the root. You know what? I can't, so we're just gonna snip it there. And then let's see. Here it comes. There we go. All right, so now we've got piece number one that is left with two little small pseudo bulbs here and this new growth that is starting new roots right down in there. She will be just fine. I don't think she's going to get set back. Now, she may not bloom. Let's see, is this, because this is the piece that didn't bloom, but she may not bloom off of this one just because of the stress of this repotting. But I feel like she has enough roots left in her to get her going. Let's just check them. And we do not have any dead roots, so I'm just gonna lay her back in the pot right here. And then let's see what we've got going on with this one. So these three pseudo bulbs are already kind of breaking off anyway. There we go. And we have nice roots here. But again, to get that cocoa husk out of there, I am going to cut these roots. And then let's just take that piece, that one that I ripped, trying to get it out. Let's see, take that piece off. And then that sheath. So as you can see, this one here, even though she was close to the media, that root gave up. I'm going to leave it on there. But this way, this one can get some roots in. And by getting her a little further into the media, maybe that root might reactivate. I don't have enough experience with Zygopetalum Zygonesia type to know whether or not an old root will reactivate. Okay, and then that has grown all through that cocoa fiber there. These are just those little cocoa chips that you can usually get for your reptiles. And I must have boiled mine quite a few times, soaking it, rinsing it, soaking it to get all that salt out of there. Make sure you do that prior to. Okay, I'm gonna leave that one there because it's kind of stuck. I do want to get as much of it off as I can, but if some gets left behind, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I just don't want a lot of it left in there. Because like I said, it just had 97 parts per million, which isn't too bad having been in there for over a year. Because it was in January of 2022, and here it is June of 2023. Remove all the sheathing that I can. All right, well, we have our pieces. There is the carnage that is left behind. Shoo. Now we get to decide what we're going to do with these ladies. Now, do we want to put this one in here? No, I think those roots, I think there's just too many roots for that one. So they're both probably going to go into this one here, which I believe is a 4-inch pot. I am going to center them. So that one, yep, the roots, we have room for the roots. And we have room for lots and lots of growth. Now let's try this one here. Let's look at it. Yep, same thing. I can get this one in pretty deep and cut some of these roots back so I can get her a little bit deeper. Again, I'm doing it off film, so you guys don't have to cringe. I know you're probably hearing it. I think she'll be fine. Sometimes you have to go more on instinct than on what you hear on the interwebs. And my instinct tells me she's going to be just fine with me cutting the roots. Maybe it'll increase, excuse me, her root growth. There we go. See, by cutting those roots down a little bit, I can get her a little deeper in the pot so that those roots will have somewhere to go. So now let's get our pots ready. And what I'm going to pot them up in, they're both going to go into the same setup. I'm not going to put them back into the cocoa chips simply because I just don't have any more, excuse me, any more on hand. And since I had stuff out already, I wanted to go ahead and get it done. So what I'm going to use is just some small bark and a lot of moss. And then there's perlite in here as well with some charcoal, just to kind of help with aeration and keeping it nice and hydrated. So we'll put a little bit of moss at the bottom on each. And because I keep forgetting, haha, look what I'm remembering to do, I will just sprinkle some of the mycorrhizal fungi, and because the moss is nice and damp, it will go ahead and stick to that and basically get wet. There's that. And which one? Let's do the smaller one first. And I'm going to, again, off camera, I will go ahead and trim back these roots as well. Let me check them again just to make sure I don't have any scragglers there. All right. And so with this one, we'll go ahead and put her kind of centered. Keep her nice and centered, and then just fill around with the moss. Now with this, I'm not going to make it snug as a bug. I'm just going to basically just lay it in, because with the cocoa chips, there was quite a bit of aeration in there, so it wasn't too tight. Move her over a bit. There we go. And then the bark and the perlite will kind of help with that. And I'll put both of them in a mask just to make sure that there's no algae buildup in here. And I will make sure as well that there are also no huge air pockets, because these are not epiphytic like our Phalaenopsis and our Cattleyas that don't mind a few air pockets. These like to have something on their roots, so they don't like a lot of air pockets. So a small air pocket here and there is not a big deal, but you don't want ginormous gaps is what I'm getting at. So let's set her a little more center. There we go. And then make sure that that new growth can get into the media with its roots. And if you guys are getting anything out of this, even if it's something you don't like, go ahead and hit that like button or the dislike button. And if you do hit the dislike button, can you please in the comments tell me why, so that I can correct that in the future? Thank you, thank you. Any feedback is good feedback if it's constructive. Now, if you're just trying to be mean, you know, I'm probably going to ignore you. But if it's constructive, then that is helpful. All right, so I feel like I have her there, and then I'm going to put a little more right here with a little more moss kind of closer to this new growth, again, to encourage some roots to go down in there. And then the rest of it is going to get topped off with some bark. Hold on. I've got a pot here with a plethora of things. There's moss. There's some cocoa, leftover cocoa chips from her on here. So she's just going to have a plethora of things on the top here, as is the other one. And with it having that cocoa husk there, that might eventually, over time, as it gets wet, help keep the top portion with a little more humidity than the bark will. We'll just watch and see. Like I said, it's got seedling bark. It's got some small perlite pieces, a couple of pieces of charcoal in there. And the cocoa, I don't know if I said that already. I'm probably sure I did. All right, so there's that one. Right there. Now, I did leave a couple of roots right here, and I do see that we have a little bit of an air pocket. So let me just push the media down on the edge there without hitting the roots. Because there's already bark in here, I'm not extra concerned, but let me grab a little bit more moss to add to that, because I don't want that area to dry out too quickly, because there are quite a few roots right there. Probably should have checked that prior to topping her off, huh? Well, that's what happens when one gets in a hurry. There we go. Now we're good. Now we're cooking. Let me double check before I get all happy with myself. Yes. All right, so we'll just spread that back around, and we will grab a little bit more and top her off. Because originally I was going to top her off with some small stone with these. But then I was thinking with the moss, they'll get heavy and they'll just kind of compact the moss, and I'm trying not to have that happen. All right, now let me do the other one, and we will come back with some final thoughts. So now we're going to go ahead and top her off with her goodies. The same little mixture that we did with the other one. Like I said, I already had it. Sometimes when I have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, I just put it all in a bowl and then use it as a topper. May not use it as a bark mix, but I just use it as a topper. So this is just some stuff that was laying around that I didn't have enough to use it in a pot, but it works as a topper. There we go. Now, I did not add any slow release fertilizer in here quite yet. I'll probably do that in about a week. Just add it to the top, kind of sprinkle it down. I just want her to kind of settle down. I don't want to over fertilize her right away. They're not heavy feeders in my experience. There we have her. So there's the two. One that became two in a pot, and now the two are in their own pot. But they each have this new growth, and each one of the new growths are already producing roots. And because it's used to staying in a rather damp media, transitioning into this moss is not going to affect them too much. Now I am going to water them, but how I'm going to water them is I'm just going to set them in some water and let it absorb throughout. I'm not going to pour the water over them quite yet because I don't want this fresh moss to get compacted right away. And if you would like to follow the journey, I'm thinking I might need to stake this one. She's a wee bit wobbly. Let's see if I press down a little bit, if that'll kind of sturdy her up a little bit. No, she'll be fine. I am going to put them both in a mask, and they will both go back to where it was originally living, at least until it kind of establishes itself, and then maybe next year I'll take one of them and move them somewhere else. But for this season, I'm just going to put them back where they were together so that not that much has changed to stress them out, giving them more light, less light than they're used to, kind of, you know, leaving everything the same except for fresh media. But if you'd like to follow the progress of these girls and my Phalaenopsis and my Cattleyas and my Oncidiums, and I got a Miltassia, got a couple of those, Cymbidiums, got a little bit for everybody. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Either way, I'd appreciate it at a thumbs up. And with that, you guys have a beautiful day.